gentlemen, once again, as always, it's the one, it's the only, it's the motherfucking General Miguel Magallon! And as always, the president, the founder, the CEO of Magallon Entertainment! And the leader of the sports betting Mexican podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, what up, what up, what up, what up? Welcome back to this exclusive Monday night edition of the motherfucking sports podcast. Tonight with the motherfucking favorite Mexican, Miguel Magallon. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about what happened on Sunday Night Football. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about what happened on the NFL fucking spreadsheet. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to break down every motherfucking ticket. One by one, pick by pick, teaser by teaser, parlay by parlay, profits on profits. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, when the general's about to teach you some shit, when the general's about to educate you on shit, and when the general's about to drop some knowledge in this motherfucker, ladies and gentlemen, you get the pens and the motherfucking pads, you feel me? So, let's get straight into this. So, we'll start off on a recap. Let's bring it back to back on Thursday night, back to back nights ago. And then from there, we'll roll into the Sunday morning games, and we'll go into the Sunday night game, and I'll give you a quick recap of what happened with all of our tickets on Sunday, all of the teasers, all of the parlays, all of the straight bets, all of the upsets, and all of the motherfucking ticket profits. Let us begin with the Thursday night game. Once again, Bengals at Ravens. That was a stay away game for me. Ravens were favored by 3.5. And I basically said, I'm not sure about Joe Burrow and I'm not sure about his defense, because one of the things we learned about the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson is that when he plays a top 5, top 10 defense, bro ain't the same. Now, I know you can say that about a lot of quarterbacks, but some quarterbacks actually have a winning percentage against top 5 NFL defenses. I know, shocker, right? Some quarterbacks play really bad against top 10, top 5 defenses, and some quarterbacks have a really good record against an NFL top 5, top 10 defense. So again, there is a line between are they good enough to win and do they show up when it really fucking matters. So when you look at the Baltimore Ravens, I said, man, they had a loss against the Steelers, and everyone said it was because of that Steelers defense. But they beat the Browns 28-3, and a lot of people think the Browns have the best NFL defense. So it's kind of like hit or miss, right? They lost to the Colts, but, no one really cares about that game. They beat the Cardinals. They beat the Lions. People thought Lions had a top 5, top 10 defense. They fucking whooped that ass 38-6. That was a beatdown in my opinion. Then you got the Seahawks. A lot of people think the Seahawks have a top 10 NFL defense. They fucking murdered. They smoked those bitches 37-3. And then lastly but not least, they lost to the Browns 2 weeks ago, 33-31. Again, people think they have the top 5 defense. They still fucking put 31 on them. I get it. Deshaun Watson, came in the clutch, came in late, got that field goal right at the, as time expired, and they lost 33-31. But they still put 31 on an elite defense. That's not bad to me. It's that Steelers game that kind of people look back at and say, man, you lost 17-10. Your fucking offense was just a disaster. That's what people keep thinking of. But again, I remind you guys, after that, they beat the Titans 24-16. They beat the Lions 38-6. They beat the Cardinals, which that game was probably closer than it should be, but they won 31-24. They destroyed the Seahawks 37-3. Yeah, they lost to the Browns on the last second field goal 33-31, but they still put up 31. And then they just destroyed the Bengals 34-20. But Joe Burrow, he finished the game with a season-ending injury. So when it comes to the Baltimore Ravens, I think they're good. I just wouldn't put them as elite to me. Again, I still think they're good. I think they're probably top 10 team in the league. Maybe they can beat top 5, but I don't consider them the best team in the league, and I don't think they're number 1. I don't think they're number 2. I don't think they're number 3. I think they're probably like the 6th or 7th best team in the league right now. That's just my opinion. I definitely don't have them number 1. I don't have them number 2. I don't have them number 3. I think they're probably right around 6 or 7 to me. So you look at the remaining schedule, you got the Chargers coming up. They're probably going to beat them next. I mean, again, Stanley should be fired. I agree with Stephen A. Smith. I just got done watching him like 45 minutes ago. I was listening to ESPN First Take with Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp this morning and Dan Orlowski, and they were talking all this shit about Stanley. And I agree. I agree with Stephen A. Smith. He's absolutely correct in my opinion. I think Stanley should get fired. I think he's a dumbass head coach. I don't think his player like him. I don't think the managers like him. I don't think the owner likes him. The fans don't like him. Like, nobody fucks with this man. Like, nobody likes him. So they should fire the head coach quick, fast, and in a hurry. They should fire him immediately, in my opinion. You know who I would love to see them get? If Ron Rivera gets fired in Washington, which I do think he will, I feel like they're using him as a scapegoat at this opinion. If Ron Rivera gets fired and they don't give the job to Bieniemy, I think Bieniemy is basically going to say either make me the head coach when Ron Rivera gets fired or let me go because I'm ready to be a head coach. I think Eric Bieniemy, whether you like him or not, agree with him or not, right? I think he wants to be an NFL head coach. I think he wanted to stay in Kansas City, but he realized that Andy Reid is probably never going to retire. He's going to be coaching till he's fucking 90. And he wanted to take control of the offense more. He wanted to be in charge more. And, he kind of like looked at Tampa Bay. Remember when Tom Brady left? They promoted the DC to the head coach. And then the head coach ended up going into management. I think that's what Bieniemy wanted. I think Bieniemy wanted Andy Reid to go into management the same way the Buccaneers did. And I think he wanted to take over as the head coach. I think that's what Eric Bieniemy wanted. And it's not going to happen. Andy Reid is not going to give up the play calling. He's just not. Just like Bruce Arians. Again, Bruce Arians, he left and he didn't want to be the coach no more. But he just went into management. He became, director of personnel, and he basically handed over the job to the defensive coordinator instead of the offensive coordinator, like most people thought should happen. So now I feel like that just ended up being a fucking disaster. But nonetheless, Bruce Arians was willing to step aside. Andy Reid is not going to step aside for nobody. He wants to keep offensive play calling. He still wants to be the head coach of this offense. And Bieniemy, I think, is at a stage of his career and at a point of his life because Eric Bieniemy is not a young guy. He's not fucking 25, 35, 36. Like, homie's getting up there. He's in his 40s, if not 50s. And he's like, bro, at some point, I want to accomplish this in my life. And if I stay as the offensive play, coordinator, no one's going to respect me because everyone knows it's just basically Andrew Reid and Patrick Mahomes running the show. So no one's really giving me credit where credit is worth. And I feel like you're never going to leave. At some point, I got to do what's best for me. And I can stay here and win Super Bowls and nobody's going to respect me because they're just going to be like, oh, that was Andy Reid. That wasn't Bieniemy. That was Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. And it is. Andy Reid is the fucking, play coordinator. So I don't know. I look at it from that opinion, and I just feel like Bieniemy's probably had enough of it. He's already won 2 Super Bowls, right? And, he's probably learned the hard way now that no matter how many Super Bowls they keep on winning, no one's ever going to give him any credit for anything because they know it's Andrew Reid's and Patrick Mahomes. So I think he made the right decision in leaving. I would have probably preferred for him to go somewhere else rather than Washington, in my opinion, but he ended up leaving. And now they're going to fire, Coach Ron Rivera. I'm not going to say deservingly so, but again, they need someone to be a scapegoat. You know what I mean? They got to fire somebody. So they'll probably fire Coach Ron Rivera. Ron Rivera will either retire and go into the sunlight and just, go enjoy Miami somewhere. Or if Ron Rivera wants to keep coaching in this league, again, my recommendation would be for him to go into college football and be an analyst. Kind of like a lot of head coaches do. I think Sean Payton did that. Sean Payton was like a sports analyst for Fox Sports, I believe. And he was just basically watching all the games on Sunday, visiting all the locker rooms and shit like that. And then on Monday and Tuesday, he would go to like all these sports networks and talk about what he sees happening, what he sees going on, just give his perspective on things so that way people remember him. And next thing you know, 2 years later, he ended up getting the job at the Denver Broncos, and look at that. It looks like they're turning around right now. So my opinion is, my advice would be Ron Rivera should probably go be a college like football analyst or, a commenter and just watch college football all day. That way he can actually learn how to call like new innovative plays. Because right now he has no innovative play calling outside of Bieniemy, which is why they had to hire him in the first place. But I think Ron Rivera is seen as someone that's really old school and still trying to play football like they did back in the 80s and 90s. And so no one really sees him as someone that's being creative anymore. So if I were him, I would go out there to college football, be a college football analyst, and just watch college football all fucking day, and then watch pro football on Sundays, and just take, a year, 2 years, 3 years off, and then maybe he'll get another shot one day, Maybe, they fire McCarthy and he ends up coaching the Cowboys. Maybe the Chicago Bears, if they don't get Caleb Williams, maybe he can go be a coach there, because I think that coach needs to get fired. Maybe he gets a job in New York, because again, I look at New York and Saleh, he doesn't look like he's hot shit right now. He looks like dog shit. So maybe he ends up getting fired. There's probably going to be a lot of coaches in this league over the next 3, 4, 5 years that get fired. So if you could just spend the next 2 seasons, maybe 3, just watching college football and being a college football analyst, that way he can know who to draft in a fucking draft for once. I think that would do wonders for his career, because he could learn how to do more innovative play calling, and he could learn all the up-and-coming stars in college football, so he would have better perspective when it comes to the upcoming drafts. You know what I mean? So that would help him kind of rebuild and retool a team if he ever were to get hired again. But either way, for now, I think he's going to get the boot, and I think he's out of Washington. If Bieniemy doesn't end up getting the head coaching gig, which, some people are saying is a maybe, if he doesn't, he's going to be out of the building. And I think a place that he should probably look to go coach is the Los Angeles Chargers, because I think the Chargers with Herbert and that defense, they could do some things. And I would love to see Bieniemy coach Justin Herbert in that division against Patrick Mahomes and Russell Wilson and Sean Payton and a new upcoming Raiders team that all of a sudden is just filled with fucking energy and motivation. I know they lost to Miami, but, they fucking put their heart out there. The Raiders look like they're turning it around. Again, they have way more energy, way more motivation. They're trying to finish the season strong. They love their head coach for once, and they love their quarterback. O'Connell, to me, he's better than Jimmy G. Fuck Jimmy G. They should have never fucking signed that bitch. But you know how it is. McDaniels wanted one of his guys from Boston, from the Boston, Massachusetts state, bro. Boston. All right, whatever. Now Jimmy G, all he does is fuck Italian bitches out here in Vegas every night. Good for him. BB dubs, right? But as far as I'm concerned, O'Connell's probably always been the better quarterback to me, and I'm glad the new head coach realized that. So we'll see, but Bieniemy going to the Chargers, I think that would be interesting. Anyways, after that, they got a bye week, and then they have to go play the Rams at home. I think that's probably a throwaway game for the Rams. I think the Rams at this point, I know they're still trying to win games, kind of, sort of, not really, but I look at it, I look at the Rams as a team that's already looking forward to the draft. Honestly, I think the stupidest thing that the Rams could have done this season was won 4 games. Because now that they have 4 fucking wins on their record, and by the way, they beat the Seahawks, you gotta be kidding me. Now I think, I don't know. They should draft a new quarterback, obviously, but I wish that they had just focused more on losing, because I want McVay to get the best quarterback possible outside of Caleb Williams. So we'll end up seeing what happens with LA, but that's probably a throwaway game. You're coming off a bye week, so you should win that game. I know Aaron Donald's going to put some pressure on that ass. Again, you know how Lamar Jackson is. A lot of people say he's not, clutch when it comes to facing a top 5 team in the defense. We'll see. But after that, it's a tough schedule. They got to go into Jacksonville, play Jacksonville. Then they got to go tour San Francisco and play the fucking 49ers in San Francisco. Then they got to come home. They got to play, fucking Miami. They want to drop 30 on any and everybody. And then you got to come back home and then you stay home and you play the Pittsburgh Steelers to close out the year, and they're still trying to win the division if it's possible. So those last 4 games for the Ravens are going to tell you everything you need in terms of how good this team really is, how clutch Lamar Jackson really is, and how good this roster really is. Those last 4 games to finish the season. Again, in Jacksonville, in San Francisco, home against Miami, home against the fucking Steelers. You got to be kidding me. Again, they have that bye week and they'll probably beat the Rams easily. But after that game in Jacksonville, 50-50, but I think they pull it off. I think they win in Jacksonville. But then they got to go across the country into San Francisco. I think they get blown out in San Francisco. Then they got to home and play Miami. I think they lose to Miami. And then last but not least, that last game at home against the Steelers, I wouldn't be surprised if they lose against the Steelers. I mean, and the Steelers ain't shit. You guys know how I feel about Kenny Pickett. I think he's a bust. And the Pittsburgh Steelers should also be looking to draft a new quarterback this offseason. But damn, that's a tough schedule to finish out the year. Jags, Steelers, Miami, Niners. Whoo! We're going to find out everything we need to know about this fucking team in the last 4 weeks of the season. So with that being said, that's what I think about the Ravens. In terms of the Bengals, I think they're done. I think they suck now. And to be honest, I hope Joe Burrow comes back good from the injury, but I think the Bengals are going to suck moving forward because now that Joe Burrow's max contract is about to kick in and Jamar Chase's contract is about to get hit and all these other contracts they have on the team because everybody wants a max contract these days, these contracts are going to start to have a huge hit on the salary cap. I'm telling you guys, they're probably going to lose 2 or 3 stars, or 2 or 3 of their best players. I think 3 of their top 10 players are going to leave this offseason. And it's not because they don't want to be on the team, it's because they want that fucking money. And when that happens, you're going to see a Bengals team that is not as talented on the roster. I don't think the Bengals are going to win a Super Bowl anytime soon. I think their window is closed. Next year, I think they're going to be dog shit due to salary cap reasons. And secondly, I don't think their head coach is that great. I think their head coach is kind of a moron, in my opinion. When I think of Joe Burrow and the Bengals, I never think of the head coach. I think a lot of people overlook him because of how amazing Joe Burrow makes him look. But in my opinion, that coach is a moron. Not as bad as Stanley, but he's not elite. No one in the history of the NFL has ever said the Cincinnati Bengals head coach is elite. They just say Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, they're elite. The head coach? Not so much. So yeah, I think their window to win the Super Bowl is officially closed now. Next year, their roster is going to have huge turnover because, and again, Joe Burrow has the biggest contract in NFL history outside of Patrick Mahomes, and Jamar Chase, one of the highest paid receivers in NFL history. I mean, again, you go down the list, 5 guys take up 90% of the money, and those other guys, they basically suck, and they're going to continue to suck, and now they're going to lose more players. You got to be kidding me. So to me, fade the Bengals moving forward. I think they're done. I think their window's closed. Unless they're willing to trade Jamar Chase to get a bunch of draft picks so they can rebuild the roster using, fresh draft picks. But other than that, I think Joe Burrow is going to be a guy. He's going to be like a Ben Roethlisberger without the Super Bowl rings. You know what I mean? Like, he's going to be good enough to put up numbers. He's going to put up big numbers. He might almost be like a Phillip Rivers. He might be the new generation's Phillip Rivers, where he's just going to put up big numbers. He's going to ball. He's going to have heart. He's going to have soul. He's not going to talk as much shit as Phillip Rivers, because Phillip Rivers was a shit talker. But he's going to put up big numbers like Phillip Rivers. And at the end of the day, when they lose in the playoffs, you never say it's because of Phillip Rivers. You always say it's because of the roster. Because when you look at the Chargers back in the day, you used to say, man, him and LT can do damage. Just like they say, man, Joe Burrow and Chase can do damage. But for some reason, they always ended up losing in the playoffs. And it was never because of the offense. It's because the defense either couldn't stop nobody or the offense, ended up stalling too much. It was always something. But when Phillip Rivers lost, you never said it's because he sucked. You never said because he couldn't ball. You never said it was because, he couldn't throw the ball. Like, Phillip Rivers is very rarely you can say that the reason he never won a Super Bowl was because of his ability to throw the football. Phillip Rivers was actually a really, really good quarterback. It just never really worked out. And I think that's what's going to happen with Joe Burrow's career. Because him and Chase taking 80-90% of the money, there's 56 guys on the roster. There's only 2 guys taking 90% of the money. That means everyone else is basically a scrub, a backup, or a guy they picked up off the street. It's just not enough, in my opinion. So I think this Bengals roster is just going to hold Joe Burrow back. And I don't think he's going to win the Super Bowl. Unless they're willing to trade Jamar Chase one day. And I don't think he's ever going to want to leave because they were drafted together. Not together, but, they played together. They love each other. I don't think Jamar Chase ever really wants to go anywhere. If you know what I mean? Like, especially if it's not a better situation. But who knows? Oakland traded Randy Moss. Packers traded Devontae Adams. You know what I mean? Minnesota traded Stephon Diggs. I mean, it's possible. But unless they're willing to do that, I'm not sure how it happens. By the way, Minnesota traded Stephon Diggs to save money. How'd that work out for him? Oakland Raiders traded Randy Moss to save money and they didn't like his attitude? How'd that work out for them? Ain't none of them won Super Bowl since then. You know what I mean? Packers traded Devontae Adams. I don't see no Super Bowl going to Green Bay next. So again, I'm not saying it's a bad idea to trade your best wide receiver, but it's not going to change things either. So again, maybe the Bengals can trade Jamar Chase one day in the future, not now, but in the future for some draft, capital. if he ends up being unhappy, but I don't think that's going to help the Bengals win the Super Bowl anytime soon. So to me, Joe Burrow, because those two guys make up so much of the salary cap hit, Joe Burrow, highest paid player in NFL history, and Jamar Chase, one of the highest paid wide receivers in NFL history, two guys take up 90% of the money. The rest of the roster is going to be basically scrubs, backups, and some guy they picked up off the street. It's going to suck. I think their window's close to me. As far as the Ravens, I've never believed in Lamar Jackson. I've never been a fan of Lamar Jackson. I don't fuck with Lamar Jackson. But I bet on Lamar Jackson because he wins me money on Sundays. And at the end of the day, that's all we really care about on this podcast, is it not? All we care about is the bag. All we want is the moolah. All we want is the feria. All we want is the fucking bread, homie. We just trying to stack profits on profits on profits right now so we can continue to buy more Bitcoin and as much crypto as motherfucking possible. You feel me? Yay, yay! So with that being said, no, I fade both these teams. I think the Bengals are done now, done for the season, done next year, done the year after, and I think they're done moving forward. Ravens, we'll see. I'm not a fan. I hope the Ravens make the playoffs because I would love to see Lamar Jackson lose again. Again, Lamar Jackson has only won one playoff game. Lamar Jackson is what, year 6, year 7 in the NFL right now? I think this is Lamar Jackson's 6th or 7th season. In the 6-7 years he's played football in the NFL, he's had one playoff game win. That's it. Lamar Jackson's been in the NFL for 5-6 years. He's won one playoff game. And if he goes into the playoffs this year, I'd have to check the standings, but I think, I'd have to check the standings because we don't know who's going to win that division. He'd either go in as he'd have a home game, probably against the Pittsburgh Steelers, go figure, or he'd be the road team, probably against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I don't know. Maybe he can win one playoff game this season, but then after that, I don't have him beating the Chiefs. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I think the Chiefs are still going to take it, and I wouldn't be surprised if they go to the Super Bowl, honestly. But there's a lot of good teams, man. Ravens are turning around right now. Raiders have some fucking life in them, apparently. Let me check the standings. Let me see real quick before we move on. Let's see. I'll go to conference. Yeah, so Baltimore has the second best record right now, so hopefully they win their division. We'll see. But Jacksonville, I think they can beat Jacksonville. I don't think they can beat Miami. I think they can beat Cleveland. I don't think they could play the Texans. I said this before. I took the Ravens to destroy the Houston Texans opening week. I made money, but I'm going to be honest, this is just my opinion. If Baltimore Ravens and Houston Texans ended up having a rematch in the playoffs, I think C.J. Stroud can take it. Honestly, I think C.J. Stroud would win that game. I think Texans would win. I would love to see that. I would fucking love to see Texans have to go into Baltimore for the first round. I think C.J. Stroud beats them, and then everyone's going to be like, wow, C.J. Stroud, rookie year, already has as many playoff wins and playoff victories as Lamar Jackson does in 7 years. Ooh! I'm just saying, in my opinion, he's not that dude. Lamar Jackson is good, but I don't think he's great at throwing the football. I think he's just a run-first quarterback, just like a Mike Vick, just like a fucking, you know what I mean? Just like a lot of QBs before him. I don't think he's really that accurate. I think what he does is he throws the ball deep when his wide receiver has some fucking heat on him and he just burns bitches, and then he could throw the ball deep to a wide receiver who's wide open. But in terms of throwing into tight coverage, I don't think he's great at that. In terms of throwing it into a tight spiral in a tight window, I don't think he's good like that. In terms of throwing his wide receivers open, I don't look at him like that. I don't know why, but I don't think he's better than Joe Burrow. I don't think he's better than Patrick Mahomes. I'm not even sure he's better than Jalen Hurts. Like, honestly, I'm not a fan of Lamar Jackson. I'm just not. So I actually like C.J. Stroud more. If you ask me right now who would I rather have to be my starting quarterback, I'll take C.J. Stroud, especially considering C.J. Stroud's barely making any money because he's on a rookie contract, obviously, and Lamar Jackson wants max money. I mean, I honestly, C.J. Stroud, if he wins a playoff game against fucking Lamar Jackson in Baltimore, opening fucking wild card game, C.J. Stroud does that, I give him a max contract that fucking next morning. Fuck the bullshit. C.J. Stroud might be that dude. And by the way, I was bearish on C.J. Stroud. Not on him as a quarterback. I was bearish on C.J. Stroud because I said his offensive line was garbage. And I said it's hard to know if a quarterback is good or not, kind of like Bryce Young right now. It's hard to tell if a quarterback is good or not when he has a garbage offensive line. Because if he never has time to throw the ball, then how the fuck do you know if he can throw the ball? So I was super bearish on Houston Texans offensive line, but they figured it out. Meanwhile, in motherfucking Carolina, what do I say? They ain't been the same since Cam Newton left. Fuck that team. And they don't have their fucking their first round pick this year. It ends up going to Chicago. Oh my god. Panthers are so fucked right now. I think they're going to be last in the division again next year. I think the Falcons might be last. I don't know. Panthers are going to suck and Falcons are going to suck. Maybe the Buccaneers. We'll see what happens with Baker Mayfield in the offseason or if they draft a rookie. I think they will. I think the Bucs are going to draft somebody. They'll probably still have Baker Mayfield as a starting quarterback. I don't think they want to start a rookie quarterback, so I think they'll draft somebody and have him probably sit for a year. That's probably what the Bucs are going to do. They'll probably bring back Baker Mayfield, and they'll say you're going to be a starter for one more year. You deserve that, but we're going to draft a rookie quarterback, and he's going to kind of just learn behind you. But next year, if you start to suck, we'll probably pull you halfway through the season and let the rookie quarterback go in there and get some reps to finish the season. So I think the Bucs will draft somebody new. Falcons might draft somebody new. We'll see what happens with all of that. And then I think the Panthers are still going to suck. So honestly, I think the Saints are probably going to win it next year. I think the Saints, Derek Carr, he'll probably win 9 or 10 games next year, just like he might do this year. And you know what I mean? Win just enough games to give him job security, but not enough to actually accomplish anything in this league. That's kind of the Derek Carr way, in my opinion. So anyways, Pittsburgh, Buffalo. I don't know. Maybe Buffalo could still beat Baltimore. Who fucking knows? And the Pittsburgh Steelers, obviously, it's always 50-50 when they play Buffalo. And now you have the Denver Broncos and Las Vegas coming back with life. Those could be interesting wild card scenarios. If the Raiders make the playoffs and be a wild card team and take on Baltimore, they're going to play with heart. Denver Broncos, wild card seed, have to take on Baltimore. They're going to play with heart. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if Baltimore loses opening week in wild card division. I would not be fucking surprised. Would you? Would you really be there shocked? Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun. CJ Stroud, week 1 victory in the playoffs, wild card division, upsets the Ravens on the road. Would that really shock you? Would that really surprise you? Not really. So anyways, I know that was really long, but that's kind of my opinions right there. Bengals at Ravens. Fuck them both. I hope the Ravens make the playoffs. I hope they have the fucking a top 2, top 3 seed, because I would fade them wild card week. My opinion. Bengals, windows closed. Moving on. Let's get into the Sunday game. So we had Seahawks at Rams. I told you stay away from that game. I said my brain said that the Seahawks should win, but my gut said the Rams should win. I should have followed my gut. The Rams ended up winning, covering on the money line. Upset, baby, baby. And the reason I said my brain said the Seahawks should win, because I said Seahawks have a better team. Because I said, you look at the record, you look at who they beat in, who they not beat in, and you look at the the Rams, who are kind of like in rebuilding mode, trying to figure out what's going on with Matthew Stafford and not, what's going on with their fucking future in the upcoming NFL draft, with one of the deepest quarterback drafts in NFL history, at least the last 15 years. 6 to 9 QBs are going to get taken in the first round, in my opinion. And I said, man, the problem is my gut says don't fade McVay, because McVay is undefeated after a bye. And what did the Rams have before they played the Seahawks? A motherfucking bye. And I said, damn, man, McVay's coming off a bye week. He's never lost after a bye week. And I get it. Seahawks are actually, competing. Rams are kind of rebuilding. But fuck, McVay on a bye? Oh my God. They get Matthew Stafford healthy. They could pull off the upset victory. So I said stay away from that game. My brain says Seahawks. My gut says Rams. I should have listened to my gut. Rams with the upset victory. Kudos for them. Both of them are going to suck. By the way, Seahawks, I hope the Seahawks win the division. And the reason I hope the Seahawks win the division is because I want to see the 49ers stomp them one more time. And if you get that matchup in the playoffs, Seahawks at Niners, whoo! We taking the money line on that ass. Give me the money line, the teaser, the parlay, the straight bet. Woo! They gonna whoop that motherfucking ass and send Geno Smith and them boys back to Seattle looking like bitches after they pipe them down out there in San Francisco all night long. They will be coming for that ass. Chase Young and Nick Bosa on the same team? Sheesh! Oh, Seahawks about to get murdered one more time if they have to go in the playoffs and play in San Francisco one more time. That shit's gonna be a motherfucking beatdown, you feel me? Now, Rams. Can the Rams make the playoffs? Can the Rams come in as a wild card seed? Let me check that shit real quick. What are the Rams right now? 4-6? Nah, Rams aren't going to make the playoffs. Fuck that. Good upset victory, though. I hope the Seahawks make it, and I hope they play the 49ers in the first round. As far as the Rams, once again, another team that has to draft a quarterback in the first round because Stanford is asking for too much money. I would not give him a max contract extension. Fuck that ass. And I'd let him walk in free agency or retire a Ram. He might as well retire. He already lives in LA. His wife likes it. You know, the kids love it. I mean, it's not like he's going to go back to Detroit, Michigan anytime soon. Fuck that shit. You know what I mean? You know, I fuck with Detroit, but nah, fuck that bullshit. Not like he moving back there anytime soon. You know, they're going to stay in LA and live that LA life. He might as well just retire a Ram. You know what I mean? His legacy's already cemented in LA. He brought them their first fucking Super Bowl in I don't know how many years. He could retire, live a good high quality life. You know what I mean? That Orange County OC OMG life. You know he can. So nah, do that shit. All right, moving on. Steelers at Browns. Steelers. I want to see the Steelers make the playoffs. I think the Ravens are going to be the ones who win the division. I might be wrong. But either way, Steelers should, again, draft a QB in the first round. Fuck Kenny Pickett. He's a bust to me. But let's look at their remaining schedule. They got the Bengals. They're going to win that game. No Joe Burrow. You got to be kidding me. Then they face the Cardinals, who, you know what I mean? Kyler Murray against a top 5 defense. You got to be kidding me. Then you got to play the Patriots. You probably win that. You got to play the Colts. Probably win that. Got to play the Bengals one more time. You got to be kidding me. Probably win that. And your last 2 games, you probably lose. They got to go into Seattle, and then they got to play on the road against the Ravens. So it'll be interesting, but, you know, I think they make the playoffs. I don't think they end up winning the division. They might. It'll be between them and the Ravens, and I think them and the Ravens are probably going to face each other opening week in the wild card. We'll see. We'll see what ends up happening with that. I don't know. But yeah, I'm not a fan of the Steelers. Kenny Pickett's a bust. Drafting UQB to me. Brown, same thing. Deshaun Watson, paying him too much money. The thing with Deshaun Watson is even if you have a draft a new quarterback, you still have to continue paying him. So, I mean, great job, fucking Browns. I don't know. Only reason I would love to see the Browns in the playoff is because their defense is so elite. They can upset anybody in the opening round because their defense is just that stacked. Same with the Steelers. I would take the Steelers in the opening round. If Steelers and Browns are both on the road opening wild card week, I would bet them on the money line no matter who they play. You know what I mean? No matter who they play, honestly. Because who are going to be the teams that have home field advantage opening round in the wild card? Who's going to have home field advantage? Let's take a look one more time. In the AFC, Baltimore's probably going to be a home team. Jacksonville's probably going to be a home team. And Miami's probably going to be a home team. And then Kansas City will get the number 1 seed. So Baltimore at home, Jacksonville at home, and Miami at home. Okay, and then who are the 3 teams that would possibly be on the road? Cleveland, Houston, Pittsburgh, and Buffalo. And then maybe a Denver or Raiders. Yeah, Baltimore could easily lose in the first round, especially against the Texans. Jags, I'm not sure the Jags are 100% going to win a game opening week versus the Steelers defense or the Cleveland defense or even the Buffalo Bills against fucking the Buffalo Bills. I could easily see Jags losing opening week and wild card weekend just like they did last year to the fucking pinche Chargers. Oh no, they beat the Chargers, my bad. But they were down 27.5, so no, Jacksonville could easily lose that game right there, opening week, wild card weekend. They could lose to Cleveland. They could lose to Pittsburgh. They could lose to the Texans, obviously. And they could lose to the Buffalo Bills. I think Jacksonville will lose opening week, wild card weekend, no matter who they play. I think they're kind of overrated, in my opinion. They're really good at beating bad teams, but they suck every time they play a good team. Check their record. All their losses have come to playoff teams. All their wins have come against teams that aren't playoff wins. Like, again, they're really good against bad teams, and they're dog shit against the good teams. Miami, Tua, you're telling me Cleveland couldn't get to that ass? You're telling me Pittsburgh can't beat that ass? You're telling me Buffalo, if they had to go on the road and play Miami, you're telling me they couldn't upset that ass? Again, I think all 3 of these teams could lose opening week. Tua is the type of QB that would throw too many interceptions and cost Tyreek Hill another championship. Jacksonville, same thing, overrated. Baltimore, not sold, never been. So, honestly, I wouldn't be shocked. I love Wild Card Weekend. I'm excited for it. Houston, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, you kidding me right now? And then maybe a Denver or a Raiders that are going to play with some heart? Man, give me all the fucking road dogs. Give me the fucking upsets, money line, opening week, Wild Card Division. Hell yeah. I'll fuck with that shit. So anyways, though, I stayed away, though, from that Steelers-Browns game this past weekend. I stayed away from that, and I stayed away from the Seahawks-Rams. I stayed away from the Chargers and the Packers. I said both these teams suck. They still suck to me. Chargers just need a new head coach. Packers need a new quarterback and a new head coach. And then Giants and Commanders. That was a stay away game for me. I said fuck that shit. Now let's talk about the games I did play. Whoo! Here we got the Bears and the Lions. I took the teaser and I told you guys to take the Lions. I said I didn't like the -8, but I took them on a 7-point teaser to get a -1. Boom, that was a cash out. I did not play the over-under in this game, but I basically said, I kind of like it either way. The over would have been the bet, but I said I stuck with the straight bet, the Lions -1 on a 7-point teaser to me. The next one that I really, really liked was Jacksonville, and I said that was an interesting one. Jags were, I think they were favored by 6 or something, and I said I would like to take them -1. They cashed out 34-14. And then the other one I liked, I think that was really it. For the 7-point teasers, cross game. The one I ended up doing was Lions -1, and I took 49ers -6, 6.5, I think, 6.5. They ended up cashing that out. My biggest ticket of the week, my second biggest ticket of the week was San Francisco, and I took them on the 7-point teaser, and I did that in the over. So the spread was 13. I got them at like -6, -6.5. And then I took the over. The over was originally, I think it was like 42, and I said I'll take them over 35. The game ended up being 27-14, so we cashed out on the over 35, and we cashed out on the -6. So boom, easy money to me. My biggest teaser, my biggest ticket, my biggest play, my motherfucking maxed out bet of the week was the Cowboys game. And I took them from -10.5 on a 7-point teaser to basically -3, 3.5. And I said, give me the over. I think the over at the game was 38, and I said I'll take them over 33 or some shit like that. That ended up cashing out because they scored exactly 33, and it ended up being 33-10. And I told you the Panthers would probably score a garbage time touchdown, and they did. So the over hit, and my ticket there on -3.5 hit. So boom, I got the 7-point teaser on the side and on the over/under. Same with the Bucks. My two biggest tickets of the week cashed. My third biggest ticket was the Lions -1, San Francisco -6.5. Boom, that ticket won. And the only tickets I had that lost this week were my upsets of the week. I had the Cardinals on the money line. That almost won. Kyler Murray was on the Texans 20-yard line, and he ended up not being able to complete it. But Cardinals were right there. They were on the 20-yard line with like 1 minute left trying to score a TD. They almost beat the Texans on the road. And then, last but not least, I ended up taking, who was the other one? The Raiders. I took the Raiders on the money line plus 600. They had a chance to win. They were on the fucking Dolphins 20-yard line, and they couldn't complete. So again, both these teams had plenty of opportunities, but they didn't win the game. I had them to win outright. So I basically went, like 6-2 or some shit like that. 4-2, 6-2. But the two bets I had that lost were basically the upsets. So those don't really count to me because I didn't put too much money on it because the Raiders were plus 600, so you don't have to put a lot of money. And I only put small money on the Cardinals. But the biggest ticket of the week where I had a fuck ton of money on, like 80-90% of my bankroll, was that 49ers game on the spread and the over. And then I had the second biggest ticket, was like 40% of the bankroll, which was Cowboys, and that was the side and the over. So 90% of my basically tickets cashed out because that was 90% of my money. Cowboys was 40% of my bankroll, and the Bucks game was 50% of my bankroll. So those are the two biggest tickets I had. And then the other 10% of my bankroll went to that Lions game at the and the 49ers minus 6.5, and then I just put a little something, some spare change, you know what I mean? You feel me? And that's what I used to play the Raiders game and also the Cardinals game. So basically, the bankroll for the most part went undefeated. 95% of our tickets cashed. Now, the other two games that we had was the Jets-Bill games. I said stay away from that. I said the Bills should win, but, a lot of fucking broken locker room shit. But the Bills ended up winning. And then last but not least, you had that Vikings, that Broncos. I said I favored the Broncos -3. They ended up only winning the game by 1. But again, I didn't play that game. If you did, you didn't cover. So that sucks. And then last but not least, we have tonight's game. We have the Philadelphia Eagle at the Kansas City Chiefs. Spread right here is 2.5. A lot of people are asking me, what's my opinion? Same thing. My brain says Eagles. My gut says Chiefs. Last time I said Seahawks. My brain said, Seahawks. And my gut said Rams. Same thing here. My brain says Eagle. My gut says Chiefs. I look at the over-under. Where's it at right now? Over-under is 45.5. I mean, you're kidding me. This is a pick'em game straight up, and I'm going to be honest. It's tough to me. It's really, really fucking tough to me. Fuck, man. I feel like I want to take the Eagles. I really do. I just feel like the Eagles need this game more to like help them in the playoffs. And the Chiefs just aren't that good of a team to me. Again, I think they're going to have home field advantage. I think they're going to be the number one seed. But to me, I think the Eagles are going to win this game. I think they want this game more. You got to remember, the Chiefs had a lot of turnover in the offseason. So did the Eagles, kind of. But the Chiefs had a lot of turnover in the offseason. So a lot of these guys weren't actually in the Super Bowl. So a lot of these Chiefs players aren't like, oh, yeah, let's go get the Chiefs. Yeah, let's go fuck them up. You know what I mean? Because they didn't play in the Super Bowl. Only like really Mahomes and Kelsey were there and like a few other guys. Versus for the Eagles, 80% of their roster, almost 90%, ended up staying. They only lost like they lost some key pieces, don't get me wrong. But the majority of that roster is still there. Not all of it, because Jalen Hurts got all that money, but the majority of the roster is still there. So I feel like the Eagles have more players that actually deeply want to win this game, more so than the Chiefs do. So to me, in my opinion, I think the Chiefs are going to win this game. I would take money line on the Chiefs. I already gave you two upsets of the week that didn't cash out. Raiders plus 600 and the Cardinals plus like 250. You can get the Eagles at plus 150. So whatever you lost on the Raiders and whatever you lost on the Cardinals, whatever money you guys bet on that, take all that money from the profits we had from our biggest bets of the week, which was that Cowboys game, San Francisco game, and that Lions game. Use that money from the profits, take out whatever you lost on those small upsets from the Raiders and the Cardinals, and I would go ahead and put it on the Eagles money line, plus 110, plus 115, plus 120. I think the Eagles are going to win this game. I think it's going to be all Eagles. I think it's going to be motherfucking Philly. I don't think the Chiefs are really built like that. Not anymore. I think their offense is fucking shit to me. Now again, if they win, would I be surprised? Not really. But I'm going to roll with Philly on this one. I think they win this game. I think they need this game. I still think Chiefs will end up getting the number one seed. But I fuck with the Eagles in this game. By the way, looking at the regular season for the Chiefs, after tonight, they're going to play the Raiders on the road in Vegas. I think they're probably going to win that game, but I think it will be a shootout. Then after that, they got to play the Packers. That's easy. They got the Raiders one more time at home. They should win that game. I don't know. The Raiders might pull off an upset. The Raiders might win one of those two games. We'll see. And then after that, you have the Bills game. Whoo, that's going to be at home. That's a tough one. Patriots game easy. Bengals game got really easy now without Joe Burrow at the end of the season. So, yeah, I look at it from that perspective. I think the Raiders might win one of those two games that they have coming up next. And then maybe they lose to Buffalo, maybe not. But they're going to beat the Packers, they're going to beat the Patriots, and they're going to beat the Bengals. So the Chiefs probably only have one or two losses after this. And then the Ravens also have one or two losses after this because they got Miami, they got Buffalo, they got, who else did I say? It's Miami, Buffalo, the Jags, and one other team, and the Steelers coming up next. So I think it's going to be tug and pull between the Ravens and the Chiefs. I think after this week, they're both going to be 7-3. And we'll see who ends up getting the number one seed. I don't think it's going to be the Ravens. I do think it's going to be the Chiefs. And I think the AFC is going to have to go through them one more motherfucking time. And we'll see. And plus, again, I want to see C.J. Stroud get another chance to beat the Ravens on the road. But you could also get Steelers at the Ravens. You can get Buffalo at the Ravens. I mean, it's going to be some interesting matchups. You can get Denver Broncos at the Ravens. We'll see what happens opening wild card week. But I think Chiefs are going to still maintain the number one seed after this week. But I have them losing this game. And I think it's going to be tip and nuck from now until the rest of the season. So, ladies and gentlemen, give me the motherfucking Eagles to win this game on the road. I think they have to. I think they need to. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I don't think it's going to be a shutout. I think it's going to be nip and tuck. But at the end of the day, I think Philly's going to be the one that finishes the game with the ball. And I just think that tush pull, pussy pull, tummy tuck, whatever you want to call it, is going to be too much for them. And I think the Eagles are going to be more motivated. I think the Chiefs' main thing is they got to figure out the situation with their receivers because too many of them look like dumbasses. Too many of them look discoordinated. Too many of them look discombobulated. And too many of them play with no fucking heart. It's Travis Kelce out there with a bunch of fucking scrubs. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, give me the fucking Eagles. I think they're going to punk them. I think they're going to smack them. I think they're going to dog them. I think they're going to beat them. I think they're going to whoop them. And I have this game somewhere around probably 28-21, maybe 31-21. I think the Chiefs are only going to put up 17-21, but I think the Eagles are going to put up 28 or more. The only reason I don't think it's a bloodbath is because I think the Eagles are going to control the ball for like 45 minutes, and they're just going to run, pound them, smack them down. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, those are the plays, and that's a recap for this week. Hope you guys enjoyed it. See you guys next week. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, the one, the only, the motherfucking general. Let's make some more money tonight.